video, is because we like to learn visually. Stephen Weitz, who is one of the leaders for Bing, says that 65% of people are visual learners. So when you think about the way we create text in companies, what's what we do? We create text and we push it out. So we're not thinking through, like, how do our folks want to learn, and are we doing it in a way that's actually going to make the most difference? Okay? Now, just another thing that we did at Dell that came out when we were talking to folks is how do you get companies to actually innovate on a regular basis? And there's no like one answer that you say and then you're done. You know, it's a question of how do you put in place the right system so you can allow innovation to occur and you can allow people to collide and you can allow the teams to get to the right place. So one of the things we did at Dell was we created the Web 2.0 forum, which still stands as something that actually works. And so Manish Mehta and I created this group, and we actually gave a couple rules. We said anyone in the company could join, so no one was excluded. You could only talk about the future, which is really hard for people. You know, you had to constantly tell people at the beginning, you can't talk about the past or the present. You could only discuss how to solve problems or create opportunities. So you couldn't explain why something couldn't happen. You get cut down. It would be, how do you do it? You know, and then no one was allowed to negative or update us on current work. So in doing that, we force people to think through what's next, and then you socialize your innovation before it actually comes out. So it ends up being a really cool thing to do. I don't know if it continues to this day, but it's still a good idea for companies to think of what their Web 2.0 version is. This is a quote from Sona Chawla, who's president of e-commerce for Walgreens, talking about how customers get more and more important when you actually listen to them. And in listening to her talk about this, it made me think of what I call the circle of life for customers. You know, and it's basically when you interact, you learn. When you learn, you improve. When you improve, customers and employees appreciate it. And when they appreciate it, they help you learn more. And her point is that the more you actually interact with your customers and they learn from you as well, as knowing that you're listening to them, they do more. They get more passionate, they get more active, and they let you know more. So your level of knowledge goes up, which makes sense, right? Because you tend to want to give more to people that you trust. Okay, just a couple more slides here. One is a common denominator that we consistently see is that customers like to do three things online. These are primal needs. They want to share ideas, they want to solve problems, they want to share knowledge of a product. If you let them do any of those three, you win. But what happens is most companies still want to say, here's my stuff, I'm going to give it to you, and I hope you do great things with it, rather than saying, what can you do, and how do we empower you in one of these three. Okay, ideas, I won't read all these ideas, but when we looked at IBM's Innovation Jams, what Cisco does, what Best Buy does, what Dell does, what companies have been doing for years with prediction market software, idea communities, et cetera, what Starbucks is doing, you get very consistent feedback. And one of the big notes here is that the majority of ideas are incremental. Most ideas are related to things that you already knew the answer to. And what you're really doing is you're allowing your customers to help sort through what the priorities are. So if I think of like, you know, the value probably to Dell of IdeaStorm, it was not that anyone ever got it. When Alex Caruso was there, I don't think he ever got an idea that he hadn't already thought of 25 times. It was that you might get like, this is the order of components that people want in a laptop, and you have a better idea if you want to make that trade-off or not. Doesn't mean you do, but at least you have the information to make that choice. One of the stories in there, by the way, in the book is, which Alex was directly involved in, was, you know, when we launched IdeaStorm, we actually, one of the top ideas was, would we come out with Linux consumer systems? And we had no plan at all to do that. And I remember vividly the meeting, it was a VP director meeting, and Michael was leading it, and someone put their hand up and said, you know, what are we going to do about this idea, because our customers want Linux consumer systems. And I think the person was asking, thinking that like we would do nothing. And Michael looked at the person and said, I want you to figure out what they want and then deliver it as fast as we can. Of course, then that trickled back, and then it was like, okay, Alex, you got to figure this out. And but amazingly, that came out. Those systems started to come out within 3 months. Now, I mean, that was a big note to the community. Forget about the sales. That's not a relevant point at this point. It's that we showed that we cared and we were going to move. So, and then you guys all probably took a day or two to sleep after that. So, market research, I think, will make its biggest leap forward going forward. What we're seeing when we talk to folks is that if you think of how we've always done it traditionally, we've always done primary research, clearly defined, and then we back it up with some secondary research and then pull it together. And that's worked fine for decades. Now we're seeing that if we actually tap in and understand all the online behavior that's going on, we can actually know with total precision what our customers are already saying, and then get very surgical with our primary research. So available research should guide better primary research. And that's kind of obvious when you think about it, but it's a big change for market researchers to do because we all have patterns of how we've done it for years. Right? The other thing that we learn when we listen to customers is if I ask Greg Matthews the question right now, Greg's brain, although it may be smarter than mine, can only go usually from 3 to 7 things when he thinks about something. That's the way our brains work. Short-term memory is just, it can only go so far. But if we tap into our subconscious, we're now getting into long-term memory. So if you think about when you're online, you are actually getting aided by all of your friends who are in there, and you're all talking about things. We're now tapping into all of your memory. And so we're actually able to learn faster and better and wider by watching what people are doing in a community. It was quite interesting when you look at it. Data. When you look at analytics, the big trend is it's great to have data, but data doesn't move the needle for sales. What we need is data that translates into behavior, so we understand how we're moving behavior online. And we have actually, you'll notice this is the only model that I put up for stuff that we do. I had to do at least one probably, right? But this is the model that we built that we call the 4 A's. And so when you think about what we've all grown up with in business school, the 4 P's, is price, product, place, promotion. That's great, but those are all company decisions made in a conference room. The 4 A's are all the decisions that are made by customers. So we're actually looking at how people are becoming aware, how they're assessing, the action they take, how they assess again, and who the ambassadors are who are driving share of conversation. So I won't get into the model in great detail, but it's kind of fun to go through. And then last 2 slides here is that the tips for going home. So this is what I would say is for the marketing mix. This is not everything that's changing in the marketing mix, but here's some examples of how the marketing mix is changing. One is content distribution. We're realizing that just creating content is the very beginning, and we need to figure out how do we actually distribute content to reach maybe 20 to 40 times more people than would ever come to our website. So building a content syndication network is actually key. Media mix. When you're online, in social media, there's always a media mix. So if you take any topic, any brand, it may be Twitter, forum, blog, video in the US. We go to Germany, it's going to be a different mix. Go to Spain, it's going to be a different mix. Go to a different topic for that brand, it's going to be a different mix. So we have to know the mix and the priority by brand and topic. Money words. We've all done keywords forever. They're usually in spreadsheets and they're complicated and we don't actually know what to do with them, but we know that we're putting money against them. There's 10 to 12 money words for every brand that you should know that are driving behavior that should be in every single piece of content that you do. Then when you think of search is becoming a decision engine. That's very clear. If you think of research, talk about that. Media buying. Media buying is going to change. The old way of doing media buying was that we would do 3 to 6 month flights, we lock them in, and we go. The new way is that you're agile enough that if you see that things aren't moving in 24 hours, you're shifting to plan B, or you're shutting down the campaign. There's no reason at all that you should be buying media and being locked into something that's not working. So that's very disruptive for big agencies because that's totally against their model.